Hello everyone, my name is Akal and I am a somatic therapist. If you'd like to find out a little bit about what I do, you can check out my website down below this video. Alright, so today is the fifth video in this progression on the Vedic Nakshatras. So the one thing to emphasize with this particular Nakshatra, which is pronounced Mrigashirsha, tricky one, Mrigashirsha is, again, I shouldn't say just this particular one, but all the nakshatras are essentially a progression, meaning that their energies are always evolving. And you can kind of think about the nakshatras along the lines of, like, if you reflect on the seasons and how the seasons change. You know, the beginning, first nakshatra was kind of like the restless, latent energy of the spring coming to be. And then, like I said, it just progressed one after another, with each step from Ashwini to Bharani to Kritika to Rohini and now to Mrigashirsha. What you're getting is this evolution of this primal impulse. You know, the impulse of life force, how creation manifests into the material realm. So with Rohini, what we saw references to seeds. We saw references to the first menstruation, which is actually, I guess, what Rohini means in Sanskrit anyway. So what we had as base primary urge was Rajasic energy. Then Tamasic energy was its sort of way. And then finally, on the most superficial level, the attitude, the intellect, and again, was more Rajasic energy. So, and again, this was all about sort of creativity, or the seed coming into more like the planting of the seed as opposed to it manifesting. So this was a very creative, beautiful nakshatra. With Mrigashirsha, what we get is the evolution into Rajasic energy at its base. Again, this is very active energy still. Then we have Tamasic energy at the way, as the individual's way of being. And then we have the Tamasic energy, which is sort of the intellect, or more dispositional. So the interesting thing here is to look at some of the keynotes that are related to this nakshatra, which we have the symbol of a deer's head. So why a deer's head? There's a lot of story behind this one, but the best way to kind of perceive this is that you have to look at the nature of a deer. So it's timid. It's always kind of searching. What is it searching for? Well, because it predominantly eats plant matter. It's always searching for plant matter. So it's always searching for its meal. And the other thing is that it's very swift. Again, it's a fast animal. So, again, deer, fast, swift, etc. And there's more deeper meaning as to why it's just the deer's head, but that goes into a whole lot of allegory, which I'm trying to avoid at these videos. So what we're actually going to look at here is just kind of, again, just focusing on the elusive nature of all this. And some of the descriptions and some of the stories actually describe this deer head as being golden, which again adds a sort of I guess like a prosperous or a level of abundance, and again the tendency towards materialization with this particular nakshatra. So anywhere where you see this tamasic energy, what you're seeing is a coalescence or a condensing of energy into matter. The other word that you tend to describe is inertia. So now let's go ahead and look at, now I'm going to come back to that, but let's go ahead and look at the ruler. So the ruler is Mars. Mars is kind of immature energy. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying it's youthful, immature energy. It's not really evolved in some ways. It's you think about it as like a teenage angst. So it's this young, youthful energy that's kind of impulsive. And impulsive is, again, another good word to keep in mind here. Then we have the god associated with this sign, which is Soma. Now, Soma is sometimes related, well, is generally related to the moon, but specifically, Soma has all this relationship with the, well, it's this mystical nectar. It's this nectar of the gods. It's this bliss juice. So Soma was, again, that's the god association with this sign. Finally, we have motivation. The motivation is moksha. Now, this brings up the gist of this whole sign. So what we have here is we have kind of a contradiction. So the evolution of this particular energy, and again, I have a nice little quote up here, which is the movement of energy to bring about objective reality. So it's the movement of energy, this Rajasic base level energy, to bring about an objective reality. What's objective reality? Reality is the material things that you can see, hold, possess, have a solid form. The materialization is what this process is. So it's the materialization of life force. So there's a lot of externalization happening here. So it's this life force, this attention being externalized out into the world. So now the contradiction again is because the overall motivation of this sign is moksha, which is liberation. So how do we come to terms with the fact that this particular sign, these people who've got this in their charts, either as their sun, their moon, or their ascendant, have this tendency towards, I have up here, it says seeking, searching, collecting, hunting. All these terms are this constant process of trying to attain something. It's kind of the wandering of the deer. The deer is kind of wandering, and it's searching for new food. It's searching for new things. This also creates a sign that tends to be very, like I said, a prosperous. There's very prosperous placement. But because we have so much inertia, so much tamasic energy here, we've got this this condensing of the life force, which sometimes requires things in life to shake it up. There can be a complacency with this sign, is what that implies. This complacency, or just simply the desire to go around collecting material things, what the person starts to realize over time is that this constant collection and accumulation of material things is somehow not satisfying. It brings beauty into their lives, it brings possessions and security and resources, and again, because this can be kind of an insecure placement on some level, because it's sort of, again, think about it as like a deer, it's timid. I'm not saying these are timid people necessarily, but again, there's this drive, this immature drive to seek out material things in order to find fulfillment. Again, this externalization of one's life force. So, but again, the motivation of this individual is also moksha, or liberation. So the pathway ultimately ends up towards internalization, or the seeking, or the realization rather, that the material things are not bringing about true happiness. And this comes into what Yogi Bhajan associates with this particular nakshatra, or this particular energy anyway, through the Gunas, which is projection 4, or the historian. So what Yogi Bhajan is basically saying here is there's a lot of what he calls the negative mind at play with this particular nakshatra, which means protective. It's kind of, again, negativity. I don't want you to associate it with bad. What we're talking about here is past. So anytime you see a lot of negative mind, you have a tendency to accumulate impressions of the past, which in this particular case is how this individual will learn. Again, because you have impulsive Martian energy moving through life, accumulating stories. And these are their individual stories. Hey, I possess this, I possess that, I earned this, I earned that. What has it got me? And there's a dissatisfaction that comes along with being a sign ruled by Mars. It's boredom. So these people become kind of bored after a while. You tend to see a lot of people who like to shop with this sign. Collectors, people who shop. Again, I don't want to get all into the attributes here so much, but again, these are the tendencies of how they manifest in our lives, these particular primal impulses. So what ends up happening, again, just a quick review here, is that you will get situations because of this Rajasic base energy that will bring about swift change. So we have situations which rise in this person's life to shake them out of their inertia, to bring about swift change. So these people do often experience sudden changes in life. So just in summation of this overall sign, again, I'm going to repeat this phrase: the movement of energy to bring about objective reality. And the need to learn from one's lessons as they move out into life. And again, this externalized focus, moving out into life, the need to cultivate mindfulness in that as they attain things in life, as they achieve in life, as they get things in life, they realize that there's a shallowness or an emptiness that goes along with it. And again, this requires the cultivation of mindfulness. So with all that said, I want to go ahead and go into the exercise, which again is projection 4, or the historian, in Kundalini Yoga, in Yogi Bhajan's book, The Mind. All right, so here we go. So this is Yogi Bhajan's book, The Mind. Again, like I've done with all these videos so far, I highly recommend you buy this book. It's wonderful, and you can get it on Amazon, I think, for pretty cheap at this point in terms of in used condition, which I'm sure is in a lot better condition than what my book is. So, how I figured out that Mrigashirsha is related to projection 4 in this particular book, so originally it had to do with the fact that Yogi Bhajan reduced from universal mind, which is Chitta, into the 3 qualities, again the Gunas, Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva. Negative mind, positive mind, neutral mind. And so ultimately what he's showing here is this trickle down. And it's the trickle down of the elements: ether, air, fire, water, and then earth. And this is just increasing density is what we're looking at. Now the projections which occur at the level of water here, it's, again, this is kind of the mind and how it projects out into the world. And so what I did in order to figure out this particular one is, again, so it was Rajas at its primary level. So we go up here to Rajas, which is Ankhankar, which basically means to attach. So it's movement, it's expansive energy, it's attaching energy. And then you follow this line down, which comes to this in between, number 2, the manager, which is one of their aspects. And then you've got, so again, that's negative mind or tamasic. So it's Rajas, Tamas, and then finally another negative, which is the historian. So it's Rajas, Tamas, Tamas. And so that's how I figured it out. So let's go ahead and take a look at the exercise. So the exercise is projection 4, the historian, relay of past memory. And so here's a description. And the exercise is called the Cross-Heart Kirtan Kriya. And so this exercise is meant to balance the polarities of the brain. You can see he's crossing his arms over. So there's a crossover in the nervous system where the left side of the body actually coordinates with the right side of the brain, and then the right side of the body coordinates with the left side of the brain. And so that's basically what this is indicating. The mantra, Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. These are Bij mantras or seed sounds. And you do the exercise for 11 to 31 minutes. So that's the exercise, and now I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate it for you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do the cross-arm Kirtan Kriya. So let me go ahead and walk you through the progression and the steps on this. And again, it's done for 11 to 31 minutes. And so this exercise, what you do first is you cross the arms at the level of the heart. So it's not right on the body, out in front. You want to have the palms relatively facing upward. Not the easiest thing to do. So what we're doing here is we're basically just playing the fingertips. So each one of these touches on the fingertips, so thumb to index finger, thumb to middle finger, thumb to ring finger, thumb to pinky, has a sound. So thumb to pointer finger is sa, that's SA. Ta is middle finger. Na is the ring finger. And then ma is the pinky. So it's sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma. You get the theme? So now the eyes. How we're going to get the eyes into the correct position is, this is usually my process. You can do however you wish. But I find that sometimes it's a strain to look at the tip of the nose. So what I do first is I adjust the eyes. I adjust the musculature of the eyes. And so one of the best ways to do this is you first look up and to the left. And so you exhale all the air out first. Looking up and to the left. Take a deep breath, inhaling the breath fully and completely. And then you want to rotate your eyes to the right and up, retaining the breath. And then you want to roll the eyes directly up, kind of as if you're looking at the crown of your head. Once again, fully and completely retaining the breath. And then once you hold it for a little bit more, you want to exhale all the air out. And then rotate the eyes down to the tip of the nose. So in order for you to do this, sometimes I have to go through that particular route like 3 times. So it's up and to the left, right and to the left, straight up, and then back down to the tip of the nose. And again, I'll do this sometimes, this pathway, 2 or 3 times before I feel like my eyes are ready to look at the tip of the nose. So once your eyes are on the tip of the nose, like I said, this mantra is incredibly simple. I'm just going to go through it a couple times. And like I said, you can do this on your own for 11 to 31 minutes. Sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma. So when you're ready to finish up the exercise, you inhale, retain the breath. And you want to roll your eyes up, looking at the crown of the head. Retain for about 10 to 20 seconds. Then exhale, relax in the hands, and meditate. All right, so this particular exercise, like I said, is really good because what's going on with this particular exercise is, again, it's coordinating the polarities, coordinating the right and the left halves of the brain. Something else I found really interesting is because the sign is related to so much retention of memory, and so much, again, this is called the historian, so it's about the retention of memory, it's about the retention of past patterns. Past patterns, like I said, we can learn a great deal from, but oftentimes they need to rise into the conscious mind before we can actually, recognize them. Otherwise, we kind of go about our life. And again, the sign is always kind of busy. It has a very busy energy about it, but it also has a lot of inertia or a tendency to externalize its focus. So this exercise is in particular helpful to empty out what they call the hippocampus area of the brain, which are kind of the temporal lobes. And meditation in general is good for that. This is the part of the brain that's connected to PTSD and trauma and things of that nature. So this exercise will help in emptying that part of the brain. So with all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I thank you very much.